Hello, hobby friends. It is another day, another sports card video. Not back at the home front yet. We got the pull-out couch in the background. We're kind of roughing it to some degree here, guys. So apologies, I've just got the tripod on a desk. We're doing our best to make it all happen. Thank you for joining me for another video. Sorry about that, trying to maneuver. If you are looking for daily sports card, collectibles, hobby talk topics around the hobby and a little bit of life talk today, hit that subscribe button down below and we will continue on. The notification bell as well, we would appreciate it. All right, I think everybody is starting to notice hobby whining on the rise. Now, this is not some sort of a brand new thing. I mean, the sports card hobby is just a microcosm of society as a whole. And society really is whiny in general, a lot of society. And I can only speak for kind of what's going on in the United States. I know that there's folks all over the world dealing with all sorts of a variety of different things, but I'm talking mainly about US folks because a large part of my audience and a lot of sports card audience is based in the United States or North America as a whole. And so hobby whining and victimhood. The first part that I'm going to cover is going to be around the hobby content side, my experience with the hobby content stuff. And then also on the back half of that, we're going to talk about just kind of cards in general and other kind of topics around this. So I've heard a lot of talk about sponsored content. It's popular talking point, sponsored content. I am a sponsored channel here. I do have quite a few sponsors on the channel. And while I do understand that ads can be annoying and this and that and whatever, I really don't understand the pushback on this. And here's why. Whether your YouTube channel is monetized or not monetized, YouTube puts ads on it. So if you have 100 subscribers, you have 100,000 subscribers, and you decide like, hey, I don't want to monetize this particular video, they put ads on it. This is something that they changed about a year ago, maybe 18 months ago. It used to be that channels were not monetized, didn't have ads on them. But now that is the case to where YouTube can put ads on those videos. So for me, I just kind of view it as you're gonna watch ads regardless. Unless you have YouTube Premium, then you're kind of paying to not see ads. But if you don't have YouTube Premium, you're gonna see ads on every YouTube video. So for a channel to have a sponsor, and for me, I pretty much have 15 to 20 seconds of maybe a 10-minute video where I'm shouting out a sponsor, which reminds me, big thanks to Veriswap, today's video sponsor. Guys, you want to trade, you might want to add cash, maybe you're card rich, cash poor, you're trying to figure out where could I go on an app to trade cards effectively. It's Veriswap, definitely check them out. Now, was that so bad? That was what, 10, 12 seconds, little ad mention? But my point is that you're gonna get ads one way or the other. So if the content creator has the ability to make a few extra bucks, putting a specialized kind of ad just thrown in there, I guess I just don't get it. I don't understand the big pushback there. My channel, I don't get directives as far as, them telling me, okay, here's what you're going to say, here's what you cannot say. I don't have any of that with any of my sponsors. I'm not told what to say, what I can't say. Actually, the opposite, where sponsors will tell me, do your thing and be authentic, be genuine, and be you, and say what you think. That's it. That's what it is. I don't have any sort of requirements around my content, or I wouldn't have any sort of deals in place. I wouldn't have sponsors if that was the case. So I do understand that sort of pushback, but there's a lack of understanding on the back end, I think. There's a lot of people talking about it that don't really have an understanding of how that even goes. Now, I can understand where someone says, hey, if you have a sponsor for a particular company, you're not as apt to go after that company if they do something bad or something like that, or there's something I don't agree with that particular company. And I can understand that sort of a pushback. I can understand to some degree, but every single company on earth has got people that are not happy with the product. There's very loyal customers for particular companies to where they're not happy with a particular transaction, this, that, or whatever, and they still continue to use them. PSA. I mean, come on. How many people have had some sort of a bad experience with PSA and they continue coming back for more? Now, I have also gotten a lot of feedback where people are happy that I have some sort of a sponsor or something. So it's not as if this is all negative. It's just an ongoing talking point that I hear. And so I just wanted to just kind of talk through that a little bit because If you think of it from that aspect of you're going to watch ads regardless, and is it really a huge deal to have another 12 or 15 seconds on a 10, 15, 20-minute video of something for the content creator? I mean, to me, it doesn't. And I would have said the same thing before I ever had sponsors or not. Every other YouTube, it feels like genre, all the other different industries that are on YouTube, they have sponsors. There's a lot of, these sponsored type content stuff. So I don't know why in sports cards or collectibles, it's some huge ordeal, but it's a very, very common thing throughout YouTube. All right, you see a lot of different Facebook posts around, oh man, I overpaid for a card. I think I got scammed. Look, if you overpaid for a card, that person that sold you the card is not a scammer. I have done this to where I have overpaid for a card, but I was so excited I didn't go and look at comps. I might have paid $150 for a card that sells at $110, $120 all day, and then look back and been like, man, I should have just waited. I should have just done, a little bit more research, and I didn't, and I overpaid by $30, $40. It happens. It happens to all of us. But instead of taking my rage out on the seller, it should just be like, I'm dumb that I didn't do a little bit more research, and I should have looked up what the comps were before I bought the card. The same goes when it's, I paid $400 for a box of cards and I got $40 of value out of it. If it's your first time ever doing that, then fine, get it off your chest. But if you've done it more than once or you've done it 100 times, I mean, what's anybody supposed to say to that? What's anybody supposed to say? You enter into a break, so you pay $100 for a break spot and you get $5 of value back, or you get no value, or $50 or whatever. That's going to happen more times than not. So, the whole idea of we're supposed to sit here and be sympathetic to something that is just so commonplace. No. And what bothers me is there actually are stories with real victims out there. You've got guys driving trucks into card shops and stealing 6 figures of inventory out of it. These are real victim stories, not this stuff. This stuff is just people whining because they just weren't paying attention to something, or they haven't learned the lesson for the 50th time over. I was on a recent interview on the It's Jeff Wilson show with Jeff Wilson, and there was a comment on that video and, pushback against me. I think it was me and Jeff, but kind of like we lost our way. And this is kind of going back a little bit more to the content side. I just forgot to mention it. But, he threw in here something to the effect of, I wish that you were doing more stuff with your children in the hobby. And this is something I've said over and over. I've learned that in life, not even just in making card content, I will never make everybody happy. I might not make 10% of people happy. It might literally be that 1% are happy, but I can't control any of that. And in my personal life, it's kind of the same. Do I want people to enjoy what I'm doing? Yeah, absolutely. But if they don't enjoy it, I don't care. I'm not losing sleep over it. I'm not losing sleep over it. And this guy comments what he doesn't understand is, yes, I've got 4 kids. My youngest is the only one that collects cards. They are Pokemon cards, and he's brilliant. And I love doing things with him. We do go to card shows. I do some little kind of card show vlog stuff. I don't really include him much in those. He is my youngest. He is autistic, and I am extremely, extremely protective over all my kids, but especially him. That's a personal preference for me, and everyone has their own preference there, but that's just the way that it's going to be, on that front, at least for the time being. Maybe when he gets a little bit older, that changes. If some of my other ones grow up, they get interested in cards, that could be different. But for now, it's just going to be the way that it is. It'll be very, very limited in that respect. I want to kind of go back to, again, what we're talking about with, victimhood and rejection and these sorts of things. When I was in my 20s, I was doing a lot of sales jobs and a lot of phone sales, some door-to-door type stuff. And I actually have there's a couple of guys, they're very adamant. They're in my neighborhood, they sell solar. So if you're in the suburbs like I am, you probably get some of these guys that come around door to door. They're selling steaks out of a truck, or they're selling solar, or they're selling, I had actually a guy come up and he was selling pest control, like termites and, roaches and all that stuff. He was selling pest control, and he did a nice job. And I was thinking about it, door-to-door salesmen, they're looking at how many doors are actually going to be open, and then from there, will they get a demo out of it? And each time one of these markers happens, there's a higher chance for a sale. If you've done any sort of door-to-door or telemarketing type work, you are very comfortable with rejection. You are very used to it. It's just the way that it goes. 99 out of 100 people are going to say no, or hang up, or shut up, or leave, or whatever, or just no thank you. And that's how I handle it. I always open the door because I've done this type of work before, and so I have respect for people that are going to put themselves out there, even if it is somewhat annoying. On a Saturday afternoon, my dog is barking his head off. I'll still step outside and talk to these guys, and I like how it's always the same kind of a thing of like, oh, Frank and Betty down the street, and oh, we got Tom over here. We just signed him up for solar panels or pest control or whatever. And I thought, I'd stop by and talk to you. Many of these folks, they're younger. They're in their 20s. And this is great life work. It really sets you up because you get used to rejection. You get used to getting pushed down daily. And then when you get those wins, it's just that much better when you do get a win from time to time. But you learn a lot. Team sports does a similar thing. You have to get used to losing. And sometimes when I look at, folks in the hobby and in the world, frankly, I can understand some of this from 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds, but there's literally 40, 50, 60-year-old folks that are still operating as if they have never felt any sort of rejection or any sort of setback. And it's like, how is this even possible? How is it possible? And that's the thing that I don't really understand it. I just don't understand it because it takes away from people that have actual gripes, actual people that are victimized by stuff in the hobby. It just takes away from it. And the internet introduces all the noise. It allows for this. And I am one of these folks as well at times. It's not as if, it's like kettle calling the pot black or pot calling the kettle black or whatever. It's not that I've never complained in my life or I never complained. I mean, I'm a New Orleans Saints fan. I am complaining just about every Sunday during football season. So I'm not exempt from this at times. I just see this as rising. There's a kind of this rising tide of, I'm calling it whininess, but it just feels like that. It's just kind of like the same topics on, in Facebook groups. And it's like, are we going to move on or are we going to post this for the 37th time? Maybe not. Maybe we're not going to move on. But anyway, I thought it was worth talking about, hopefully setting the record straight on a couple things, especially with sponsorships type stuff, just to give an added perspective to it. And again, I know that probably 95% of people are not going to agree with me on it, and that's totally fine. I just wanted to throw in my 2 cents. And then also just the stuff I had a guy call me out about making it more of a family affair. And I'm a little hesitant in doing that, especially with my youngest, who is the only card collector at this point. We'll see what happens over time, but that's kind of where we're at. So guys, have an amazing rest of your day. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.